I'm recording this on my couch filled with butterflies that warms my belly. Times and seasons. Times and seasons, as you know, belongs to God. And if you're someone who feels due for an overflow, someone asking, God, when will it be my turn? This is for you. I'm sharing this from a place of strength and from a place of learning and unlearning. Because even if tomorrow I wake up confused again, even if I have questions just like you, the truth remains God wants us to understand His timing. It's like He's calling us into understanding that this is how it works, but only for those who are patient enough and keen enough to know when God is speaking. This year taught me more about patience than anything else. Honestly, it was harder than my master's degree. I'm not the easiest to teach, but God, my master, has a plan. He always has. And the way He suppressed my heart and called me into learning, I had no choice than to hand over this year unto Him. And the problem was that I always thought I was wiser. But this year, I eventually let God. I didn't force anything. And anytime I tried to force things, He forcefully pulled me out. I mean, there were moments when I randomly craved situations God had already delivered me from. And He allowed rejection to meet me so clearly that I couldn't deny this was His hand. Almost like, go ahead and test it out if you want, but not on my watch. And that was this year. It felt like nothing was moving. I mean, at some point, I was just there. And in that stillness, I gained deep understanding of the ways of God. And here is one lesson I will never forget. You cannot fast your way out of the season God had intentionally placed you in. Because I think I'm a marathon faster. I love fasting. Any small thing that looks like a challenge or obstacle, I'm into fasting. And the moment I'm done with the fast and it seems as if nothing is changing, I begin to have this sense of resentment towards God. God, I fasted, I prayed, I went to the mountain, I did this. And why am I still in this situation? Or why is it that nothing has changed? And He helped me to understand that God works with time. And if you think that your fasting will manipulate the time and structure of God, you hate yourself, aside the fact that you might be tempted to believe He doesn't exist. But our fasts, they are not wasted. You must graduate from that lesson. This one that I just mentioned. Nothing in God is wasted. From our prayer to our praise, giving, worship, our time in His presence, they are all seeds. I mean, there was a time I thought giving was making me broke until He showed me all the other ways He had been providing, protecting me, teaching me, leading me. And even when I was giving and was thinking that this was the major reason why I end up with nothing, He knows how to nurture us in other ways. And that's just how God works. So, we have times and seasons, times of need, times of seeking, times of healing, times of plenty and times of nothing, times to sow and times to reap, times to speak and times to listen. The key is to understand what time you are in. A farmer is one of the most determined learners because without knowledge, he labors in vain. Every new year raises our hopes. And every end of the year, we start reminding God of all His promises, especially when they seem fulfilled in others, but not yet in us. But every blessing is like a crop. Marriage, children, career, travel, opportunities, name it. You don't just expect them. You learn the patterns of sowing and reaping, and you align yourself for what you have asked Him for. Yet, even in all of that, there is a positioning under mercy. God's mercy, which outrules every principle, is available to speed us through all of these processes. Because even a farmer can do everything right, do all his maths, and still need God to send rain out of season to speed up his harvest. A rain that he might expect and not expect. And God, just out of His will, gives an abundance of it. That's where I want us to stay. You and I, under His mercy. No matter how much we fast, and dedicate ourselves into fasting, seeking, praying from mountains to mountains, consulting leaders in church, our lives remain in his hands. None of all of this can dictate his next move over our lives. Time means nothing to him. One day is like 1,000 years before him. So I know you've waited. I know you've labored. And even if it looks impossible now, the God who made Sarah laugh at the promise is about to give you the same testimony. Delivered right to your doorstep, he gave Sarah a child at old age. He can still do yes. So my queen, that man you think is beyond your reach, that life you think you don't deserve. Remember Esther, right? God lifted a girl no one considered and replaced a queen everyone feared. He can rewrite your story. He is still in position to do so. He never lost his powers, nor his might to do all of those great things. King, even if you've lost everything and it seemed as if God has forgotten you, I'm sure you remember David. God restored him when the Amalekites came and took away everything, including his wives. But guess what? Told him to go for it. He overtook them, brought back everything they took, and God added more. He is still restoring. He is not done. So how do you step into the season you so desire? Seek his face. Enough of trying to figure it out. You can't figure it out. I mean, there's a way you start to tell yourself, I can't figure this thing. You need to trust his hands. Know him for yourself. Not who they tell you he is. Not who they've introduced you that he is. Seek God and have a space in his heart and he in yours. He said, I named you and so named you, even though you did not know me. When you know God personally, you find peace in chaos. How was my testimony this year? Joy in uncertainty, and life becomes beautiful again, worth living, worth loving. So I pray for you this December as it comes towards us, that this December brings you answers that soften your heart and blessings that unlock a better version of you. And this is me saying a happy birthday to me. I'm stepping into the new year tomorrow. And this message is for me, and for everyone who feels like me. And even when it feels like he is late, he is definitely earlier than you can imagine. His blessings are perfect. Enough of trying to be jealous about what God has done for everyone else. Rejoice with them. There is blessings in rejoicing with what he has done for others. Because God searches our heart. The posture of our heart reminds him of what to do. Not our pleading. Not our begging. Not our waiting. It's simply the posture of our heart. So when your heart is seeking God, seeking his face, asking for more, asking for the next phase, you need to remind yourself of how you perceive the blessings of others. I remember there was a time in my life, I was still an undergraduate, and a friend of mine who happened to be very skilled at a profession that made her well sought after. I mean, she was everywhere. People came from different places just to enjoy her craft. I couldn't imagine how someone who was my mate was enjoying such blessings. She was so relevant. I got jealous. And in that position, I was still able to remind myself that I'm a child of God. I'm a vessel for him. No matter how much this lady is doing for herself, I've got to see it from a perspective of joy, support, happiness, not jealousy, not outright resentment for what God is doing in her life. Because that's the only way I can unlock mine. Our paths are different. The friend that got married or engaged last week has a path. The one who got a scholarship has his path. The one who just relocated sure does have a path. Our paths are so different before him. But so should our hearts be made in preparation. You cannot fast your way out of the position that God has placed you. You can fast for every other things. You can fast for and pray for every other reasons. But begin to seek knowledge on how to know his ways, his will, and his timing so that your fasting doesn't seem like a waste to you. So I hope this message reaches you at a point of need and fills that vacuum inside of you so that you embrace God and let Him lead you and usher you into 2026 with clarity, with His face shining upon you. I wish you a happy Christmas in advance. Joy and blessings. I'm dropping more episodes of Times and Seasons because I so love my understanding of this topic, and I know that it is teaching us of how God works and how we can enjoy more of His blessings. See you later. Bye-bye.